That's our pattern. I'm going to come up here closer and you can see some of the dimensions on the base. You can look this over later as you get a chance. What you want to do is cut out 1/2 of it on a big sheet of paper. This is like some cardboard, real light stuff. And fold it in half, and then cut out the profile, and that way everything's symmetrical. So here's our little friends. They look like ghosts, getting ready to cut out. These are roughly 2 or a little over 2-inch pieces of foam, and then we'll weld them together. Alright, so we have a regular hacksaw blade. Be sure you put some kind of ribbon on the end, because you put this down, you'll lose it. And we're going to cut around this profile. You can't do it where you can see it. So this is the most dangerous part, because this stuff burns. What we're trying to do is we're going to try to weld these two together. It needs to be really dry. These may or may not weld at this time because they had gotten wet the other day. So you line up your images and you peel this back and you kind of aim for the bottom one. The heat will go up, and you just want to just dance it across there enough to get them to get sticky, but not to catch on fire. Hold it for a second, see if it's taking. Yep, it's starting to take, so we're lucky there. And then we'll come back and do these little edges. Hold them for 30 seconds or so. Okay, we're welded. So now we're going to cut out his face, and we're going to build up just his head. Then we just cut out his nose. There's our face, and we're going to weld parts on just like I showed a little earlier. We're going to cut out the face, this time without the ears on it. Then we're going to cut out the nose, and we're going to weld that on like that. And then his little nose, and you can see we've got a facial structure being built up. Now I'm going to go back and weld all that, and then we'll look at it later. Okay, so here's our friend, and we're going to concentrate on doing his legs. I don't really have a pattern for this, I just have a concept, and so I often make these as I go. So we know that this part is his knee, and if you see, I took a marker over there and I drew out a pattern. That's his knee sticking forward and his foot there on the bottom. In the back, it's really important to have this, which isn't usually seen. You see that marker line, how it just kind of tapers off? You're going to end up putting a stake in that to keep him from blowing over in the wind. And there's just so much foam, like a foot of foam, between the front of his knee and back where the stake would go, that you never have to worry about hitting the stake. You got to trim these edges up so that they're pretty flat before you weld them together. Using some scrap, you're going to want to cut some pieces to go onto the inside there. See, this goes into here. We're going to weld that in, and that'll give a lot of strength to this joint right in here. You might notice that I've got like some 3-inch over here, and then over here I've got like some 2-inch. So it's alright. So I'm going to cut a piece of 3-inch scrap and weld it in here, and a piece of 2-inch scrap and weld it in over there. That way they'll both have roughly the same thickness of legs when it's all done. Well, if you've managed to get this far without catching anything on fire or burning your face off or melting a big hole in the belly of the dragon, I sort of did that a little bit. You got to watch where you put the torch down, because you might be facing it towards the foam, and it really doesn't take much heat to go and melt it. So now comes the fun part. We get to start putting on the decorations. We'll smooth things out with a few other tricks in a few minutes. Taking some of the scraps and putting decorations all over it, you can see that now I've got a nice little mane up here, kind of goes on down the back to give it a little more strength and 3D. Also on the belly where I had that burn spot, we cover it up with that. Now, and what dragon would be good without a couple of teeth, big fangs? So really, once you get to the basic stage, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. Just if you want to add whiskers or something onto the edge, just cut it out of foam, whatever little pieces of scrap you have laying around, heat the end up and stick it on. And you can actually put it in the back of your truck and the parts won't blow off. Now we're going to try rounding off some of these edges just to make it look a little neater. Here is what he looks like after he's had a little bit of sanding and polishing. Not a whole lot, because you know, they're just going to fill it full of arrows. That's for a fun target. I thought he needed a couple of toes, so we had those. And you can see with the 4.5-inch grinder, little angle grinder, that it really wears off the foam. You know, it cuts it very well. You don't want to overheat it, but you know, it does sand and shape very well. So that gives him, all in all, just a much softer look. Alright, well, that's that.